We provide information about sports betting for entertainment purposes only. Please confirm gambling regulations in your state of residence. To participate in sports gaming, you must be 21 years of age or older and be physically present in a state where sports betting is legal. If you or someone you know has a sports betting or gambling problem, please call 1-800-GAMBLER or visit www.ncpgambling.org for more information and further assistance.
All right, ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to the Spread Zone, your number one spot for finding the betting edge. Riz here, as always, with Anthony Stalter and Tim McKernan, the sharpest minds in the game.
Yeah, absolutely. It's a profit center over here, Riz.
I still don't like when he says that with a grin on his face.
Yeah, I know.
I don't like it. It's gas.
The issue is the track record. It's accurate, unfortunately.
Fellas, listen, the NFL season, I mean, it's so close.
Yes.
We can almost taste it. So the preseason chatter is in a fever pitch. The lines are set today. We're diving deep into one of our favorite preseason markets, NFL win totals. And, of course, everything is powered by our friends over at FanDuel. So, guys, the goal is simple. Find the teams we love to go over or under their projected win total. Just as importantly, the teams that we're screaming, stay away from. And before we jump in, a reminder to everybody listening to the Spread Zone, check out the latest odds at FanDuel. So, let's get into it.
Let's do it.
All right, let's start with the teams we're planting our flag on. I want to know, who is the team you are most confident will go over their win total this season? So, Anthony, we'll start with you. Looking at the board on FanDuel, there's some juicy numbers out there. Which team's win totals just look flat out wrong to you, and why are you so high on them?
So I'll start off with the Green Bay Packers. Over 9.5, I'm getting plus 100 at our pals at FanDuel. This Green Bay Packers team went to the playoffs a year ago. I know that Jordan Love he underwent surgery on his thumb, but it was his non-throwing hand. But they had one of the youngest defenses in the league a couple of years ago. That unit is completely matured. The weapons that are now around Jordan Love are excellent.
Not to mention they won 11 games last year.
They won 11 games. You probably should have started there. They won 11 games last year. You add a Matthew Golden, who apparently is tearing it up in training camp. The offensive line is set. There's continuity when it comes to the coaching staff. But here's the big thing. If you look at the Detroit Lions, the team that a lot of people still feel like will win the NFC North, they lost both of their coordinators. Mm-hmm. You lost Ben Johnson to the Bears, and you lost Aaron Glenn to the Jets. So there's no continuity there. We don't really know what to expect from that standpoint. You go over to the Vikings, Sam Darnold and the Vikings, they won, 14 games last year? Now you turn it over to J.J. McCarthy, who hasn't played a football game in well over a year. So there's a lot of uncertainty there. And Caleb Williams, I don't think is ready to take the Bears, excuse me. So I look at this, I'm thinking 10 wins for a Packers team that won 11 last year, and the division might be worse. Sign me up.
So USA Today actually predicts the Packers to go 12-5.
Perfect.
Well, you're in a nice position then. You're in a comfortable spot. You get 6 games against a division that you feel like is trending downward relative to where it was last year, which was one of the better divisions, if not the best division, with both the Vikings and Lions, and then, of course, the Packers.
And Tim McKernan, what about you? Are you riding with Anthony, or do you have another team in your sights for the over?
I am high on the Lions. Now, it sounds like you're kind of shorting the Lions market, or you're not as sold on where they've been because of the turnover.
Correct. Yeah. I think it's more of uncertainty than I think the Lions take some sort of massive step back. Just when I'm factoring things in with Green Bay winning 10, that losing the 2 coordinators, I think it could be a blow.
So the Lions number is 10.5. That's minus 135. I am on the Lions, and here is the reasoning. There are teams that we have seen in NFL history. We've seen it in sports, really, that are on the climb up the mountain. And that's the sense that I get with the Lions. Yes, they have lost coaches, but I don't know how much that's going to impact it. And for this team to get to 10.5 wins, I think that is a really easy thing for the Lions to do. And so for them to go over 11-6 at a minimum gets me home on minus 135. I really like the Detroit Lions. And that's with a recognition that they are in a difficult division. But I really like the Lions to get kind of easily 11 wins. I mean, you look at the schedule, and they, of course, have a first-place schedule by winning the division in that Week 17 or Week 18 game against the Vikings. But they have some favorable matchups against some teams that I think are considered the bottom feeders around the NFL. When you look at their win totals, they get the Browns, they get the Giants. I think that the Lions are a team that is going to win easily 11 games. So I see 10.5 as being juicy.
All right, Tim, let's flip it. Betting an under could be just as sweet. So,
you better
Tim,
believe it.
Which team is destined for disappointment this year?
Anthony,
who are you hammering the under on?
You may be telling me that this is as chalky as a play can get in 2025 win totals on unders. New York Giants.
New York Football Giants.
Riz, if they go and only win 5 games, we get paid. The under that I like, under 5.5 for the New York Football Giants. I think you're looking at a dumpster fire.
Now, is there a team?
New York?
Is there a team? I think, but the Giants are going into the season thought of as going to be terrible, right?
Right.
Are there any teams that had a great record last year that you think maybe they're due for a serious regression?
I think I know who Anthony's on that one.
Yeah, we've
maybe a tough schedule, maybe off-season losses, or they just got lucky in 1-score games last season.
So this is,
what do you think?
I'm not going to be popular with most of our listeners. I'm not going to be popular with our co-host Tim McKernan on this one because, as we know, he's high on the Washington Commanders. But I'm looking at the under, let's see here, 9.5 wins at -110. I would have loved a better number on that. Yeah. Everybody's high on Washington, rightfully so. They made it to the NFC Championship game last year. Jaden Daniels steps into his second year. He was fantastic last season. They added Deebo Samuel. Like, what's not to like about the Commanders? I pointed this out in the last podcast, though. A lot of close wins that could have went either way last year. I don't think Dan Quinn fixed the defense in the offseason. Deebo Samuel is a nice add, but Cliff Kingsbury in his second year, wherever he's at, tends to fall back as a play caller. And there is kind of the sophomore slump. More is often added to a quarterback's plate, regardless of if they had a nice rookie year or not. So I look at Washington, and I think they're overvalued coming into the season. I would take the under 9.5 at -110.
And then so Detroit for me. I think public money's pouring in on the Detroit Lions. They have the most wagers in total dollars bet to win the Super Bowl. Does that make you nervous? Do you see the Lions as a team that have sky-high expectations?
Not based on
that you would hammer the under on?
No, I wouldn't. So the Lions are a team I wouldn't touch. You had mentioned this in the intro. Teams we like, teams we don't like. So teams we like over, teams we don't like under. Teams I wouldn't touch. I don't know about the Lions.
Well, hold that thought. Hold the stay away team.
Got it.
Situation, because we'll do that on the other side. Let's take a break. We'll come back. We'll talk about the teams that are scaring us off. So don't go anywhere. Spread Zone brought to you by FanDuel. All right, and we're back on the Spread Zone, brought to us by our friends over at FanDuel. So we laid out our best bets for overs and unders, but just as important is knowing which lines to avoid. So some teams are just way too unpredictable. Tim, we'll start with you. Who is your number one stay-away team on the FanDuel board?
I am intrigued by the Buffalo Bills, also in the AFC, being the team that is climbing the mountain for the inevitable coronation, like I feel about the Lions. However, what we have seen over the 2+ decades of Hard Knocks is the money comes in and hypes up the team that was on Hard Knocks.
And the Buffalo Bills are your Hard Knocks team.
That's correct. So whereas I personally, taking Hard Knocks out of the equation, am high on the Bills and really could see what I think thought may have happened when those two teams met in a classic regular season game last year, a Bills and Lions Super Bowl. What makes me hesitant on it is I think the number for the Bills and the number really is 12.5 for their win total. That's right in the spot that I wouldn't want to touch. I think it's a great team, but I wouldn't touch that number, similar to what Anthony was saying regarding the Lions. I'm high on the team. I think the number is hitting a perfect spot where I want to stay away from it, even though I think they could be special this year. I think you're going to see a lot of money perhaps inflating the market on the Bills.
Anthony, what about you? What team are you not touching with a 10-foot pole?
LA Rams. They won 10 games last year. They're over-under set at 9.5 at FanDuel. Now, it's juiced to the over at -125. I don't know what's going on with Matthew Stafford. I don't think anybody does. Sean McVay said, hey, he's gonna be back at practice. Apparently, Matthew Stafford threw, 60-some-odd passes on a Saturday, and then they shut him down the next day. This feels like, Tim, it feels like a Christian McCaffrey situation from a year ago.
Yeah.
If he's healthy, if you can guarantee that he's healthy all year, sign me up for the over in a heartbeat on 9.5, because they're gonna be at least a 10-win team with that young defense and Sean McVay and the offense doing their thing. But Stafford, it's an odd feeling with his injury situation coming into the year. And if he's hurt, if he misses a handful of games, there's no way they're getting a 9.5. So I'm not touching the Rams.
Yeah, I get that, and I follow that logic, and I love the McCaffrey comparison there.
Thank you, sir.
Yeah, big fan of the McCaffrey, because that was a huge edge for people, and people got blown up in fantasy last year on McCaffrey if you had that one pick and you were stuck with McCaffrey.
I think he seems to be the guy, as we're going into your fantasy football drafts, that's the one guy that people are,
high ceiling, low floor. Right. I don't know if I want to go back down that road again. Yes.
Talk to me about the Minnesota Vikings.
Another team that I wouldn't touch.
That number, Anthony, we're looking at approximately, looks like the sweet spot's in that 8.5, 9.5 range for their win total this year. And you're not touching them with the...
They got a quarterback that's never taken an NFL snap before.
Being the core reason.
They've got one of the best coaching staffs in the NFL. But the one thing you circle is the most important factor when you're judging anything. It's the quarterback. I have no idea what J.J. McCarthy is. I know Kevin O'Connell likes him, and for that reason, I kind of like him. The number being 9.5 at +120, or even laying -140 for 8.5, that's kind of enticing.
But that kind of uncertainty, though, especially around a quarterback.
Right.
That would be my stay away.
I could get over a questionable defense, right? I can't look at the quarterback situation, not knowing what the hell it is, and saying, sign me up. I know what they are. I'm not touching them.
And then on the other side of things, the one place where you feel like you have the most certainty at quarterback in the NFL would be in Kansas City with Patrick Mahomes. Do you get the sense, Anthony, that the market is projecting that this is the beginning of the end of the Chiefs, that is where fans outside of Chiefs fans are observing that they think that this is the beginning of the end, in particular for Kelsey?
I think it's a
Kelsey's locked in, man. Taylor Swift's coming out with a new record.
New Heights
podcast, which would probably beat only this one for overall
That's correct.
views. And
probably.
I was surprised she didn't
He said
join
he's
us.
locked in, man.
Here's the thing. I think they're shorting the Chiefs.
Yeah.
I think it's a great read by you, but let's take a step back here. Is Mahomes still there?
I believe he is.
Okay. Is Andy Reid still there?
Yeah.
I believe he's going to be there.
Spags, the best defense coordinator in the league.
Yeah, he's there.
He's there. All right. Are they getting Rashee Rice back? They're one true number one wide receiver, and they added some talent. Yeah, give me the over 11.5. That's a 12-win team.
Yeah, it's just one of those things
even in a hard division
that you kind of observe when the fans are thinking it's over, but I'm just not sure that that's necessarily the case in Kansas City for many of the reasons you cited.
I think people want it to be over.
Yeah, perhaps that's what it's about.
They got Chiefs fatigue, and they want it to be over, so the market kind of reflects personal or at least where the money is coming in. At +110 with that track record, it's not my favorite play, but give me the history behind what the Chiefs are likely to do.
I want you to pull up the Bears. This is an interesting one to me. So the Bears, I see experts betting on Caleb Williams to throw for 4,000 plus yards. Give me the FanDuel number for the over 8.5 wins.
That's +125, Riz.
So they're juicing the under. You're going to lay -145 on the under.
That's correct.
Are we touching the Bears or are we not touching the Bears? We staying away?
In order to get
new head coach
psychologically on that, you have to envision the ball being tossed around at Soldier Field. When is the last time we've seen the ball being tossed around at Soldier Field?
Let me think. Never.
That's the thing. But they have brought in a bunch of wide receivers to put themselves in a position to toss the ball around at Soldier Field. We'll see what Caleb Williams is able to do. It's certainly intriguing. One of their core issues goes back to what you were talking about at the outset, Anthony, and that is they're in a division where even if they make progress, they're up against the Packers, Lions, and Vikings. And it's going to be 6 games against some of the better teams, all of whom have playoff aspirations.
Sorry, I don't know this off the top of my head. How many wins last year for the Bears?
I got it
6.
right here in front of me, kind sir. And the answer is 5-12.
They're 5-12. So they can make wholesale improvements, right? Like they could add, let's say, 3 wins, but the expectations would fall under because a lot of people like the Bears because they had an active offseason, and you'd cash the under at 8.5. I think it's going to take some time for Caleb Williams to understand what Ben Johnson's asking him to do in the offense. There were reports that last year Caleb Williams would sit down and no Bears staff member would watch film with him. And Caleb Williams had to come out and say, "Well, I know how to watch film." Okay, are you watching with somebody that's telling you what to do in the offense? Because that's the important part, right? So he's basically a rookie again this year. I think it's going to take half a season. I would look more toward the Bears in the second half. Maybe the win totals get released at FanDuel because FanDuel does a great job of updating these.
Yeah.
I would look to take the Bears more in the second half.
As far as a wide receiver core goes, I mean, you haven't seen Luther Burden at the NFL level yet, but DJ Moore, Rome Odunze, and then also from pass catching perspective, Cole Kmet. I mean, the options are there. DeAndre Swift coming out of the backfield. The offense theoretically should be there for the Chicago Bears. Those are words that are rarely said.
And that's why for that prop bet, 4,000 plus yards, people are looking at that going, all right, after a rocky rookie season, they got all these weapons for him.
Yeah.
Maybe something to look at.
They did rebuild the O-line. That to me is more important.
I love the observation on the offensive line. And here's the other thing. It was speaking to the prop bet on the 4,000 yards. If you do subscribe to the theory that even with the improvement of the Bears, they're still going to be in a lot of games where they're trailing, then that leads to a game script where Caleb Williams is going to have to be throwing. And that increases it along with the pass catchers that he has both at wide receiver and out of the backfield and at tight end. And outside of being in that NFC North division, they also have some challenging games beyond the NFC North. And I think they could be in a spot where they're going to be throwing all over the place. They're at San Francisco. They're at Cincinnati. We'll see what the Pittsburgh Steelers wind up in addition to having to play 6 games in the NFC North, that could lend itself to Caleb Williams having to throw and getting those 4,000 yards along with the additions they've made.
All right, let's step aside one last time. When we get back, we'll get our final thoughts, our FanDuel locks. It's the Spread Zone, sponsored by FanDuel. All right, welcome back for the final segment of the Spread Zone presented by FanDuel. So we have covered a lot of ground from our favorite overs and unders to the teams we're avoiding like the plague. So it's time to put a bow on it. I want the best bets, our FanDuel locks from each of you. The single win total bet you feel most comfortable putting your own money on. Anthony, we'll start with you.
So I'm going to go back to Green Bay, but I'll give you a couple others that I like. But Green Bay, if we're only doing one, I'm doing over 9.5 at plus 100. I think there's massive value. I think the number is short on that one, so everything's going to come together on Green Bay. The other over that I really like, and it's kind of a 1A, 1B situation, is the Denver Broncos to go over 9.5 wins at minus 105. That number I think is short too. I don't think they're taking a step back. I think they were a year ahead of where they probably should have been a year ago with Bo Nix and Sean Payton. That defense is disgustingly good. I think people are a little hesitant maybe to back Denver because of the division. I mean, you got Mahomes, you got an improved Raiders team, you got the Chargers. But over 9.5, to me, I like that almost as much as the Green Bay play. And I'll give you one under that I like. It's the Saints. I think the Saints are going to be one of the worst teams in football this season, whether they start Spencer Rattler or Tyler Shook or Riz. They're going to struggle
You're in the mix,
this
Riz.
season in New Orleans. And that number on that under is 5.5. No, I got to go 4.5 at plus 110.
The under 4.5.
I think they won.
Are the paper bags going back on the heads at the
They're
Superdome?
back to the Yanks. They're back to the Yanks days. They won 5 games a year ago, and Derek Carr played 8, 9 games.
Yeah, and they've taken a step backwards. Yeah, it could be particularly rough down there.
All right, Tim, your FanDuel best bet, your FanDuel lock.
Anthony, I can't wait to get your perspective on this. I'm surprised by the number.
Okay.
I love this. The Cincinnati Bengals. The number is 9.5. I don't know if there was a team that anybody in the AFC would have rather faced least than the Bengals had they been able to get in last year. That team was surging after a disastrous start. I'm honestly, if you were asking me without looking at it, what I would set the Bengals number at, I would have said, I guess probably 11.5, especially looking at their schedule. It's at 9.5. Is there something that I'm missing on the Bengals? Defensive concerns?
The defense is one of the worst in the NFL.
Yeah.
But to your point, what did they win last year? 8 games?
Yeah, they were mounting a charge right there at the end.
So let's just say the defense is as bad as it was a year ago, and the offense stays the same. I would have to measure. I mean, they had a horrible loss against the Patriots and won last year. You got to figure they beat the Browns twice to get to the 10 wins. I don't hate it, but if you are asking me, hey, what am I missing here? That defense was
super atrocious.
Yeah.
The thing that I observe about the Bengals with regard to this, because you were talking about live win totals throughout the course of the season, if it's going to happen, it's going to happen within the first 12 weeks of the season. The schedule is really favorable. Finishing things out for the Bengals, they're at Baltimore, at Buffalo, back at home against Baltimore, at Miami.
That's in the middle of the season?
That is in weeks 13, 14, 15, and 16.
So,
how do you do?
So now's the time to jump on that
that's
number.
what I'm saying.
If you want to wait on the Bears, but hop on this one.
If Joe Burrow isn't at 8 wins by the time he gets to that stretch of the season,
you're ripping up that ticket.
That's a big problem because that is going to be stacked. I mean, 2 out of 3 weeks against Baltimore and then a trip to Buffalo in between with a trip to Miami. We'll see what that's like at the end of the year. That'll put the man to the test. But I think that number is super low for the Bengals. I think that is a team that is going to have a big year.
All right, let's leave it there.
Perfect.
So that's a wrap for this edition of The Spread Zone. For Anthony Stalter and Tim McKernan.
Thank you, Riz.
Riz here. Gamble responsibly, and good luck with everybody's bets. We'll see you next week.
We provide information about sports betting for entertainment purposes only. Please confirm gambling regulations in your state of residence. To participate in sports gaming, you must be 21 years of age or older and be physically present in a state where sports betting is legal. If you or someone you know has a sports betting or gambling problem, please call 1-800-GAMBLER or visit www.ncpgambling.org for more information and further assistance.